But fun thing about this, though, with this information, first off, the invited team. So we got our 4 teams: Evil Geniuses, Wings Gaming, OG, and Newbie. So these are the 4 teams. Now, whether or not you agree with them, frankly, doesn't matter. No, but whether or not you agree with them, I mean, me personally, I feel like, there's obviously some great argument to be had now with DC, especially with them just winning the ESL 1 Genting event. They got 3rd, 4th at the Boston Major. Previous to that, if they didn't run into a very hot Ad Phenom team, they very likely could have gone to the finals, if not even arguably won it. So, but I mean, they did lose, not that they didn't lose, but there is that justification. Obviously, they're the runner-up at the previous TI, so I think you could argue DC over Evil Geniuses, honestly. Evil Geniuses, I mean, when it comes to their results as of late, the Boston Major, sure, it was the same thing, 3rd, 4th place finish, but still, maybe a little bit disappointing for them. They also dropped those 2 series to Complexity earlier on in the tournament. Now, you could argue that doesn't really matter. It's the end result that matters, and I kind of agree with that. But, when you're talking about invited teams, you really have to take in a lot of information right here. Then on top of that, obviously, they finished 3rd at TI, which was behind DC, to be fair. They had a disappointing result at the Northern Arena as well. If I'm not mistaken, they finished 3rd there, the previous slam before the Boston Major that took place. So then they didn't even play, obviously, at ESL 1 Genting. So I think you really could have... I think you really could argue that DC should be here in place of Evil Geniuses. And honestly, I feel weird almost saying that because I haven't been necessarily sold on DC for a while now. But winning ESL 1 Genting and how good they look doing it, I think that's what really, really sold me in the end. I mean, they definitely look solid at Boston Major. Obviously, their 2nd place finish at TI is very respectable. And then that finish there. Yeah, you think DC's a hot team. Exactly. And the results speak for that. So now there's the argument to be made if you're DAC. The one thing, as we were looking at right here, the previous championships. Now, granted, this was 2 years ago, but EG, they are the previous winners. So you got to wonder how much they're justifying it with that. Now, I frankly think that's bullshit if that's the case. It's a new EG team. In fact, what EG team would this have been? It was with Fear and Aoi and then PPD, obviously. So we're looking at only Sumail and Universe as the same 2 players. It's a different team completely. Again, this was 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago now. So, I guess from now it's about 2 years ago. Anyways, the point is, yeah, I don't think that you could justify just because they won the last one that they should belong in this one. So, I'm not that sold on EG being here, but I can understand from their perspective. EG is insanely huge in China. The brand name is insanely huge in China and all around the world when it comes to Dota 2. So, from looking from an event perspective and simply they want to make sure they have the best teams to represent as well, that's probably what put them towards EG in the end. I would not be surprised. But I do think DC got a little bit screwed here when it comes to them not getting invited to such an event. Their results just frankly are flat out better than Evil Geniuses as of late. I mean, there's just really no ifs and buts about it in my opinion. So, it is what it is though. I'm sure DC obviously going to be one of the favorite teams to qualify now. That will mean that, obviously they're going to have to just go through quite a gauntlet, though. We just finished talking about that the American region, it's getting bigger and better. There's these new teams. You got the new PPD team. You got Team Onyx. You got Complexity. You got NP. You got Freedom and Doo-Wop, these up-and-coming American teams. It's becoming a pretty legit region as far as the qualifiers are concerned. And yeah, you have a team like Infamous from the South America. So, it's no guarantee for DC, and that's why I think it kind of screws them even that much more. The fact that there's only one American team that qualifies for this outside of being invited, I think really hurt the non-invited team that much more. So, EG, sitting back, probably thankful that they did get invited, where in the meantime, DC is like, are you kidding me? We got to go through this gauntlet now of what's a great team. Now, sure, they should still be the favorite, and they should still win it, but is that fair to them? I personally, again, don't think it is. But again, it is what it is for the event, and the decision has been made. As far as the other 3, I think it's pretty clear cut. I mean, Newbie, of course, they've been hot as of late, and up and down somewhat, I guess. At the Boston Major, they did have a disappointing finish, but of course, they got to the grand finals here, the most recent ESL 1 Genting, and on top of that, they've had some good results previous to that. So, they've been a consistently solid Chinese team. I'm not surprised to see them here. Wings Gaming, no surprise whatsoever. I don't think anyone would argue that. Of course, former tier champions. Now, they have kind of, another case, the two have kind of been up and down somewhat. But, they ran into Newbie in the ESL won Genting and took them to 3 games, so it's not like they got dominated by any means. OG, then another obvious here to me. They won the Boston Major, the most recent major event here, and this is a team that's looking very, very strong as of late. So the 3 out of the 4, I think they definitely got right. Really no arguments to be made. Again, DC over Evil Geniuses, though, I do think you could definitely argue was very worthy of being a thing. But EG it is, and those are the 4. So the qualifiers, though, setting up to be really interesting. Now, so far, the Asian qualifiers